and say welcome. Our final meeting of the year, and it's really good to see you. And I'm so sorry that you have to put up with me for an hour and a quarter today, but I'll do my best to keep you entertained. Before I do that, very warm welcome to our final meeting of 2023 on December the 13th. I think by now you all know me. I'm Mike Kwasniak. I'm a professional theatre photographer based in Suffolk in the UK, and I'll be talking about my job really through the next hour. Sheeta, of course, is moderating as usual. And Sheeta, is there anything that you'd like to say before we move on?
No, happy holidays. All right.
Eckhart is with us, and I know that Eckhart has some important information to share with us. So, Eckhart, over to you.
Yes, a lot. And I just want to make sure that I get the spotlight here. Let me see whether I can do that. Okay. Well, first of all, I have several comments to make. Thank you, Mike, for introducing me. This is the last meeting of the year, and I believe we really can be very proud. We had an exciting, great year, 2023. We introduced a new website. I think it's exciting. I think all of us really enjoy this new vehicle that Dan Wassing made available to us. We had 42 or 43 weekly meetings of high quality, which we all enjoyed. Our great class program in the beginning of the year will be continued in a few weeks when we start the 2024 class program. Looking forward to that. We have with 8 board members, all very committed and dedicated to Naples MUG's success. We have 3 individuals, Sheeta, Dan, and Mike, who are really great supporters and also great producers for our programs. Very happy to have them. But really, most of all this is only possible because of our wonderful membership. That is so committed, so loyal, and I think that's really the reason for our amazing success. And I wish you have my best wishes, all of you, for the season in front of us. My very best wishes to all of you. But apart from that, we also have something more formal to do. You are probably aware that at the end of January, we have our annual meeting, which we have once a year, the last Wednesday meeting in January. And we will inform you. We want to use the highest degree of transparency to inform you about our organization and so forth. But also part of that event is to the election to our board. We have our board memberships. The terms are limited, and from time to time, memberships of the board have to be renewed. And we have a nominating committee. Ed Evans is the chairman of this nominating committee, and I would like him to quickly report to the membership where we stand with regard of our board member election situation. Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome. Good morning. I think you covered the basics. We have a nominating committee, and we have an annual membership meeting. And this year there are 2 terms expiring, those of Mike Kwasniak and Don Peacock. Don has served as our treasurer for many years and has decided to resign that position and leave the board. A nominating committee was formed and is offering 2 candidates to fill the openings. Mike, who would continue in his position on the board, and Victoria Herring, who is our new treasurer and would replace Don on the board. The bylaws provide for nominations from the floor. If anyone would like to nominate someone other than those offered by the nominating committee, please do so by sending an email message to that effect to admin@naplesmug.com before the end of today. All active members will receive a ballot to vote on these positions, including committee meetings, committee nominations, as well as any floor nominations. The ballot will be sent within 1 month prior to the annual membership meeting. And Sheeta, would you please put that email address in the chat for all to see? And
Sure.
Thank you very much. That does it for my report, Eckert.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks very
Thank you
much.
very much. And I think we can go back, Mike, to resume our normal program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just reopen my screen share. I go through this every week. I hope sincerely that everybody is now using our lovely new website. If not, please go to www.naplesmug.com and sign in. Once you're signed in, you can do absolutely anything that has anything at all to do with our fantastic association. So the message board, of course, is there. You can manage your subscription. And most importantly, right now, you can book your place for our spring season of classes, which begins on January the 6th, when Jeff Bohr, I'm sure most of you know Jeff Bohr, an absolutely fantastic speaker, incredibly experienced, an Apple certified support professional, long-time NMUG member, long-time supporter of our organization, and he will be walking through every single interesting new feature that Sonoma has to offer. So do come along. It's the first of the season, begins January the 6th. We hope we'll have a fantastic class, just like previous years. And I really look forward to this because it's a great way to learn what's going on. Just one announcement before I start my presentation, and that is to talk about 2024, which is alarmingly close. I'm really excited about this presentation. I do not know Adam Pratt, but I did a bit of research and I cannot wait to hear what he has to say. I'm sure you, like me, have thousands and thousands of images in your photos library, and Adam will be talking about his organization, which is called Chaos to Memories, and talking about ways to just organize your library of images and make stuff easy to find. So that's the 3rd of January, and we look forward to seeing you then.
Let me say that.
Oh, sorry, Sheeta.
Yeah, let me say that I have known Adam for over 20 years. And Adam is a wonderful person, and you will really get a lot out of this. We've worked together at Adobe. He left Adobe to form this company. So it is going to be a very wonderful presentation. And we will be also offering 40% off of Adam's book. So look for that on the message board.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Mm-hmm.
So here's a picture that AI created for me. That sums up today's trial by fire. Sheeta always talks about live demos as being a trial by fire. And the last time I did this presentation, it was actually live to members here in Suffolk. And I had about 8 apps running, and they were all heavy duty apps like Photoshop. And sadly, my laptop seized up on me, and I think I had to restart it twice. So in order for that hopefully not to happen today, everything is tidily packaged into a keynote presentation. So fingers crossed. I did mention earlier, but I'm sure that some people have joined us since, but there's a lot to get through today, and I'll do my very best to finish the talk within the time limit that we have. If you have questions, as ever, please pop them into the chat. Sheeta will throw some at me, I'm sure, during the course of the event, most particularly if I say things that don't make any sense, because I'm good at talking complete rubbish, as some of you know. If we don't get through all of the questions, and I think there's a high likelihood of that, I absolutely promise to answer every question. So please don't feel, oh, there's no point in asking a question. There's 500 questions up there already. Please do, because I will answer them, and I shall pop them all up onto the message board as soon as I can. So on to today's presentation.
And I want that image. That's a cool image.
Yes.
All right. All right. All yours.
I feel like it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So today's talk is about color management, which is a very dry term about a very, very difficult subject. Color science is unbelievably complex. I'm useless at this stuff. I'm, hopeless at physics, hopeless at chemistry. But I kind of had to learn stuff in a hurry in the year 2000 when professional digital cameras were introduced. Because until that moment, I was out doing weddings every weekend using color film. I would parcel those color films, those rolls of film, into an envelope, post them to my lab. The lab would process the prints. They would make all of the decisions about what the colors should look like. I had no control at all. And thankfully, generally speaking, we have good labs, or we had good labs in the UK, and they turned out a good product. However, extraordinary things happened in 2000, and that is basically that all of the labs said, well, these guys, if they're shooting digital, they have their computers, they have their monitors, so they can be responsible for color management, and we'll just print them. So in a way, I suppose, I don't think I've ever actually said this, but I think in a way, some professional labs started behaving more like amateur labs, where you'd pop in with a disc, and the results weren't always terribly good because, somebody with no knowledge of color management was just pushing your images through a machine and some prints were popping out at the other end. So what is color management? And more importantly, what is a color managed workflow? Because that's something that I operate, and I think most of my professional colleagues, and I dare say many, many amateur colleagues do as well. And why is it a smart thing to adopt? So a bit of history. So in 1931, so a long time ago, 95 years ago, an organization in France called the International Commission on Illumination announced an international standard for recording color values numerically. Now, we're all used to seeing color values expressed numerically, but at the time, it was new science. They did it using the way that the human eye records and sees color, using red, green, and blue. And they basically developed a system where every single color imaginable could be defined in those numbers. And basically, what that meant was that whatever your business was, you might be a dress designer in Paris, somebody could phone up from China and say, I want a dress designed and I want it to be these RGB values. And that would be an absolutely international standard number. So, excuse me, wherever you were in the world, everybody spoke the same language, which is just fantastic. So color management, in a nutshell, uses that information and packages it into the way our camera behaves, the way our monitor behaves, and the way our printer behaves. And that's what I hope to try and illustrate to you this morning, where you are. Here's a lovely example of the color management issue. So these cans of paint, if somebody threw this up at a kind of pub quiz or something and said, describe these colors, you could rattle through them and you could say, well, that's a pillar box red, that's a grass green, that's an emerald, that's a sunny yellow, that's a cold lemon yellow. But the trouble is they don't mean anything. Somebody on the end of the phone describing a sunny, warm yellow could be actually looking at a completely different color to what the person at the receiving end of the phone line kind of imagined as a sunny, warm yellow. And things get really serious in situations like this. This is just a screen grab from a simple Google search on red mugs. Now, every single one of these mugs is a different color, a different tone of red. So before 1931, I simply don't know how manufacturers were able to kind of recreate the same color all the time. And in fact, I suspect they probably weren't. But now, post 1931, we can give each of these tones of red a numerical value so that when we pass that to a factory to make the mugs, they will know exactly what color they're going to produce, and there will be no surprises. Just to give you an example, so this rather odd looking screen grab is from Photoshop, and it's called the color picker. And I've set it to red simply because we've been looking at red mugs. Now, if I drop a marker into this mix of reds, that you'll see it goes from a really vibrant red in the top right-hand corner to white, and then downwards it goes to black. So every single imaginable tone of red is in this, basically this graph. So if I choose this area here, down here, the color picker tells me the red, green, and blue values. So despite that being red, it's actually not just red. It's 237 red, 15 greens, and 15 blues. So there's a little bit of red, sorry, there's a little bit of green and a little bit of blue in that red. If I move down here somewhere, over here, where you can see the color is much less saturated and it's erring towards gray, now we've got a red value of 181, but we've got lots more green and lots more blue, 82 green and 82 blue. So if I wanted to create a mug that was exactly this color, the only information that the factory making the mug would need would be those three numbers. So this is a really complicated sentence, but please read it, and then I'll try and describe what it's actually saying. So in digital imaging systems, color management is the controlled conversion between the color representations of various devices like scanners, cameras, monitors, TV screens, printers, presses, and corresponding media. In photographic terms, what that means is this. For each of those instruments, and today we're just going to be talking about monitors and printers, you create, using pieces of hardware, you create a table of all of the values that your particular monitor or your particular printer produces when a large number of different colors with known values are sent to your monitor or your printer. You then produce a piece of an app, basically a tiny, tiny, tiny thing called a profile in the case of a printer, that is a lookup table. You sometimes hear people calling them LUTs, which I really hate, but LUT stands for lookup table. And what the lookup table does is, based on the information that the hardware has received, it looks at every single one of those combinations of colors, and it says, okay, well, this is out, actually. And this particular shade of red should be +5 and +4, +5 red, sorry, +5 blue and +4 green, stronger in order to match the international standard. And it's actually mind-blowing, because what this tiny, tiny, tiny piece of this tiny document does is, when you send an image to your monitor, it pushes it through this lookup table, and it changes all the colors depending on the strangeness of your monitor to give you as close a representation of the international standard as you possibly can. Okay, so when the image finally hits the screen, and it, of course, as we all know, it does it in fractions of a second. So there's a tremendous amount of maths going on. But when it finally hits the screen, it's as close as it is possible to get to the international standard. So if you then send that, if you color correct that image, or do whatever you do in your copy of Photoshop or Affinity Photo or whatever app you're using, if you then color correct that image, make changes, save it, and send it to a printer, you then have to go through a similar process with the printer, which I'll describe in a moment. And that also produces a lookup table called a profile. I'll show you what file looks like in a little while. And that little profile does exactly the same as the profile in the monitor. It examines the colors it's being sent based on information that it's already provided via a swatch of thousands of colors. It tweaks all of those colors, again, to reach as close to the international standard as it possibly can. And at the end of that slightly frightening process, out pops a print that matches what you see on the screen. And today, when I color correct something on my monitor and I send it to the printer, I don't even need to check the print because I know that the print will be a fair representation of what I see on my monitor. That's the most technical section of this talk, so please relax.